actor at the time and had auditioned for a bunch of movies and never gotten cast in them. And I assumed the same thing was true with this, especially because it was such a long process. It was like I'd auditioned for it a couple of times and then months would go by and then they'd say, you have a call back for Risky Business. And I would go, what is Risky Business? Because at that point I'd forgotten. And, but we were auditioning together, Bronson and Raphael and me, in that at one point in New York, right?
With a lot of other actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are all together.
Yeah, but I've got pictures of us that all.
You do?
Of all. Well, so, sorry. And we just connected. The three of us connected, and then when we got to Chicago and met Tom and Rebecca, it was kind of glorious, and we spent a lot of time in the Lincolnwood Hilton bar, and also with Shara, Vicky. Yeah, and it was just, by the same token, I did think, though, it was a fluke. I had been turned down for so many movies that I figured, okay, I'll do this one movie and then that'll be out of my system and I'll go back to working for nothing. And but this movie wound up being why I have a career in movies, without question.
I think of this every single time I audition for anything. And I don't think you realize what an effect it had, but they'd seen me in this little play. And then I went, it was the first audition I ever did for any movie. John was standing in the door. Nobody ever does this. They just let somebody else usher you in. But the door opened, the door of the audition room opened, and John was doing this as I walked nervously down the hallway.
This is going to be amazing, and then it was. And nobody ever
Does that? They let you do the dead man walking, and then you go in, and they're just at the end of a fart, and then but he was standing in the doorway like, this is going to be the best thing ever, and boom. And I think of it 40 years later. I think of it. I go in, and people are like, who is he? But they just need to do a John Ednut, and then they would have great auditions. Seriously,
it's a miracle to be here, and it's just wonderful to see your faces. And Nancy, I'm so glad you're here. Nancy is the casting director for this, and the reason why we're all here.
From your point of view, how was the rapport among you and all the other actors?
Yeah, I mean, Tom.
You were young.
I was really young. I literally left high school and came to Chicago. Like I had done my last year of high school on independent study, and I left early, and I arrived in Chicago. I had no idea what was going on. Tom and I both had fake IDs, and were able to get drinks at the bar, and we played a lot of Pac-Man. I remember a lot of Pac-Man at the bar, and it was in Skokie, and it was not long after the. Anyway, there's one story, I don't know if I've ever told this, but there was I have told this, which is that, the scene when the Porsche is backing out of the driveway, John Penn and Tom were very dear friends. He was doing Bad Boys in Chicago at the time, and we used to hang out, all of us together, and he was a very intense cat, and he had gotten a tattoo for the movie, and it was all very anyway, the scene where they're pulling the Porsche out, which you're supposed to be in a car, but you weren't there that day. That's actually right. Were you in the car when they're pulling out of the driveway? Because I was there that night.
Sean Penn.
That was Sean Penn, right? So Sean is in the car as they're pulling out, because I remember being on the set that night. I should actually said that to you.
I thought Bronson was in the car and Sean was down real low to avoid being seen. I thought Bronson was in the car.
Oh, he was? All right. Very good. Well, I do remember Sean being on the set that
what did happen was the car stalled out by accident, and Paul wisely said, keep rolling. Yeah, it was very, very smart. But by the way, I just have to say, Richard Prince was our second AD in Chicago, right over there as well.